Well, YouTube, it is good to be back. If you are one of my subscribers from way back, it's good to see you again. If you don't know who I am, you've never been to this channel, my name is Steve Didier. I looked at this channel and I realized that I started it over 10 years ago, and I haven't even posted anything since like 2017, so it's been like 7 years since I've even posted a video at all. So it's been dormant. And even back then, I wasn't posting that frequently. I didn't have much of a direction. I didn't really know how to use YouTube, and I didn't really have anything to use it for. So I didn't really have a direction. I was traveling, I was living abroad, I was living in Mexico in Playa del Carmen, and I was doing some traveling. So I had some cool things to share here and there, but I really didn't have any sort of direction. And even in spite of that, I built up a decent follower or decent subscriber base and met some really cool people. It was a really cool experience, but ultimately I didn't have any direction. I didn't really have any motivation to continue the channel, so I haven't posted. But now I'm resurrecting it, and there's a couple things that are going to be different, a couple things that you can expect. First of all, I've got direction for it now. The main thing is that I started a podcast. The podcast is called The Ronin Mindset, and the basic concept of it is taking the 8 principles of Bushido, the ancient samurai warrior code, and framing them so that you can use those to guide your mindset when facing modern problems. The Bushido code has a lot in common with Stoicism. There's a lot of overlap to Buddhism and Taoism, so you're going to see a lot of similarities in there. And the funny thing is I got into podcasting completely. I'm not a podcast guy. I've never listened to a podcast outside of the Joe Rogan Experience. And that's just like the JRE clips you see on YouTube and stuff. I wasn't like a subscriber or waiting for every episode. I would just, see some of his clips and stuff. Other than that, I had never listened to a podcast. So I had started a credit business, back in 2017, and did pretty well, started to get some social media exposure, started to build a little bit of a footprint there. And because of that, I started getting invited to be on other people's podcasts as a expert in that industry or that niche. And it had an absolute blast with it. I really enjoyed the format, and I was on a decent amount of podcasts, but a couple were really cool. Miscellaneous Talks with Glassman and Prince. Those guys are awesome. They had me on a couple of times. Another one, and this is probably the really transformative one, was Habits of the Few with Mo Nalbusi. Now, Mo and I have become pretty good friends, and I ended up going back on his show about a year later, and we were talking after it was done, and he was like, "Bro, you need to do a podcast." I was like, I don't want to do a podcast. I don't know anything about podcasting. The last thing I want to do is get done working with credit clients all day and then do a podcast and talk about credit. I'm like, I'm burned out on that crap. I don't want to do that. And he was like, "Bro, you're an idiot. You don't have to do a podcast about credit. You can do a podcast about anything." So I thought about that for a little bit, and I was like, you know what, that would be fun. Even just as a hobby, or kind of a pastime where I could really just focus on something that I'm passionate about, something that I really enjoy, and give me an outlet, creative outlet, I guess. So the initial concept of the podcast was to do a mobile podcast on the road. So I've got about 25 episodes filmed, 24, 25, something like that. I was doing podcasts from all around the world. I did podcasts from Marbella in Spain, and I did podcasts from Chiang Mai in Thailand. I did podcasts from Koh Samui in Thailand. I lived on Koh Samui for a couple months. I did podcasts from Ho Chi Minh City or Saigon in Vietnam. I did podcasts from Manila in the Philippines. I was just kind of living in different places until my visa couldn't run out, and so I would just bounce. And I had an absolute blast with it, but it is a giant pain in the ass to do a completely mobile podcast. I mean, I got myself set up pretty good for it. I got the really, really good webcam. It's Elgato Facecam Pro. It's like 4K. It's absolutely awesome. I got the Rode little mini mic. It comes apart. So all this stuff is really mobile but high quality. And I was able to do it. I got some lights, but ultimately, your whole life in a suitcase and trying to carry around lighting equipment and everything else, it got kind of old. So I'm back in Mexico, and I built, as you can see a little behind me, I built a little podcast studio, got some actual lighting and, acoustic panels, and I'm setting it up a little bit more. So I'm gonna be doing the podcasting from here for at least a couple months. And then I'm probably going to take it back on the road next summer, but I'm going to be stationary for a little while. So kind of the outline of how it's going to go is, first one's coming out tomorrow morning, and then it will be, I'm going to release some right at the beginning, and then after that it's going to be every Tuesday and probably Saturday. There's going to be 2 a week. I have gotten the opportunity to interview some of the most amazing guests, such inspirational stories, absolutely profound insights on success and rebounding from tragedy, and how to really get your mindset in a place where it sets you up for success in whatever you're trying to do. So there's some amazing guests. I could name drop some stuff, but I'm not going to quite yet. But this is absolutely a labor of love. It is something I absolutely love doing. I've had such a blast with it, and I'm looking forward to getting more and more guests. And ultimately, I'm looking forward to sharing it with you, because I think there's some huge value and some stuff that you're absolutely going to love. So if you check them out and you do like them, make sure to share them and like and comment and give me any feedback that you have. Leave it in the comments or send me a message, whatever. If you have ideas about some sort of podcast that we're going to do, or some questions I can answer, that's always welcome too. The first couple weeks, I'm going to release interview style podcasts on both the days. After that is going to be an interview style one released on Tuesday, and then a short solo one with yours truly on Saturday, exploring some specific aspect of mindset and how you can apply these ancient principles to modern day concepts. So it's gonna be real fun. Plus, there's gonna be some travel stuff, not on the podcast necessarily, but just on the channel itself. There's gonna be some cool travel videos. There's gonna be some other stuff. Like I said, probably hitting the road late spring again. Who knows, 6 months, year, I don't know. We'll figure that out as I go. But in the meantime, it is good to be back, and I hope you enjoy what's ahead. So I will see you tomorrow morning. Take care.